And I know for a lot of Jet fans last night, watching the Bills continue to struggle, watching them lose in a very Jet-like way. Let's be perfectly honest with the way they lost that game. Missed field goal, 12 men on the field. Oh, my God, you can't make it up.
And watching Evan go 1-9 in his last 10 games picked on the show.
Yeah, still comfortably ahead of everybody, but nobody cares about it.
Well done, Sean.
Nice dub, Tiki.
Well done. Good job.
Good job picking the game correctly. But I know a lot of Jet fans looked at this and said, hey, this is great for the Jets.
Said money line, too.
Because, yeah, you should have. You would have won some money. This is great for the Jets because the Buffalo Bills are a mess. And sure, there's some truth to that. I always looked at the Bills and said the Jets already have a win against them. They play them on Sunday. You go beat them again. Yeah, you can pass them. So I didn't look at losing last night as, oh, my God, this changes everything for the Jets. I don't think standings-wise it ever did. The Jets are still alive. They just actually have to win. And they're going to have to win all of their divisional games, which I don't think they're going to do. I don't think they're beating Buffalo again. I don't think they're beating the Dolphins twice. I don't think they're beating the Patriots final week of the year. I don't mean they're not going to win some of those games. They're not winning all of those games. They need to. So my biggest takeaway last night was not that obvious. Hey, the Bills lost. We're alive. No. And look, I hope we can still be friends after this. My biggest takeaway is that Nate Hackett sucks. Because last year with the Denver Broncos, he couldn't even finish the season. He got fired. And when he got fired, the Denver Broncos were scoring 15 points per game, 32nd in the league. Russell Wilson had thrown 12 touchdown passes. That's through 15 games. This season, they're up to 15th in the league in points scored, a lot better. They're scoring 21.8 points a game. And Russ, who everyone hates, has already thrown 18 touchdown passes compared to the 12 from last year in Denver. And I know what you're thinking. Who cares about Denver? You're right. But I'm a Jet fan. We're Jet fans. And we've watched the 2023 offense get worse. Worse. Last year, they scored 17.5 points a game, and they were 29th in the league. This year, they're scoring 16 points a game, and they're 30th in the league. They've got a historically bad red zone offense. They have a historically bad third down offense. The head coach is trying to tell me, if you believe him, the quarterback's better. Well, if the quarterback's better and Breece Hall is healthy, and it's not like the offensive line last year was like world beaters, then it feels like the connection is Nate Hackett. So tell me I'm wrong that Nate Hackett doesn't completely suck. Because when you look at Denver and you look at the Jets, I see a parallel. I see a guy who Aaron Rodgers likes, and he's a fun guy, and I'm sure he is. But tell me I'm lying with these productions I just laid out.
Well, I'll tell you this. He's having a bad year.
Who?
Nate.
Well, of course he's having a bad year.
Again.
He's had a bad 2 years.
You're not wrong. Here's what Sean Payton is doing better than Nate as head coach. He's not letting Russell Wilson be the boss. That was Nate's biggest problem as a rookie head coach, not really knowing how to fight back against that situation. He let Russell Wilson be like a coach. Actually, he was worse than that. He let Russell Wilson be like he was a part owner, right? His office was up near the owner's office, right? If you wanted to see Russell Wilson, you had to go to upstairs. Trust me, players don't like going upstairs. I don't care what building you're in. I don't care what team you're playing for. It's always the same. The ground level is where the locker room is. You go upstairs, that's where the executives are, the coaches' offices, the ticket office, the owner. Players don't like going upstairs because it usually means one of two things, right? You're signing a new contract or they're taking your playbook. So they don't like going upstairs. Sean has found the best out of Russ. It's not great, by the way. It's not like he was fantastic yesterday.
Nobody's better. They're better. They're a more productive football team.
He's
thrown 18 touchdown passes.
I understand that. They're more aggressive in the red zone. There's no doubt about it. He also has, I think, more options in the red zone. And I think that what Russ has done is salvaged credibility. Because earlier in this season, Russ was getting run out of the league.
Yeah.
Now, what does this have to do with Nate? You're making a comparison, an apples to walnuts comparison, because it's just not the same circumstances. And Sean doesn't have the same circumstances that Nate has with this Jets team, including a rotating list of guys at offensive line, and I'm not like trying to defend Nate because he's having a horrible season. Even the game we did, we said you got to be more aggressive in the red area. He's terrified, and Zach is terrified of making mistakes. That's what it comes down to. And the only way to win in the NFL is if you take some risk. And they haven't taken any risk. They haven't made any mistakes, but they've kicked a ton of field goals.
So when we try to diagnose what's wrong with the Jet offense, because everyone knows there's something wrong except for the head coach who says we're close, we've identified a lot of different things. We've spent a lot of time talking about the quarterback yesterday.
And by the way, he has gotten better. He has. He just can't score touchdowns.
Okay, but here's the thing that really bothers me. You may be right. You can sit there, watch tape, even show me and show all of us,
Right.
see, this is better. You're right. I'm not arguing that. Here's what I'm arguing that's impossible to fight back on. Their production is worse. So if they're scoring less points this year than last year, and they're worse in the red zone, and they're worse on third down, and Zach Wilson has been a part of 5 offensive touchdowns this season, and we are how many games into the year? That's embarrassingly bad.
It is.
So you and Robert Saleh could tell me all day he's better. You could tell me that all day. Again, you may be right. In fact, there's a lot of areas where you are right, just watching him with the naked eye. But the production isn't better.
I know.
So then what's the answer? Nate Hackett's having a bad year. I appreciate you saying that. He had a bad last year, too. Granted, the circumstances were different. He's had 2 bad years. So last week I asked you, all right.
So what do you want to do? You want to fire him?
Yes and no.
All right.
I'm going to give you an answer because you're being direct. Do I want to fire him? All I know is that Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, got fired today. You know how many offensive touchdowns the Buffalo Bills have this year? 31. You know how many the Jets have? 8. 31-8.
Yeah.
So, but I want to answer your question. I don't want to dodge it. You said, do I want to fire Nate Hackett?
Yes.
Yes and no. So I'll give you the yes part. Production. Like, Nate Hackett's a lovable guy. Everybody seems to love him. You've spoken glowingly about him. Aaron Rodgers speaks glowingly about him. He sounds like a great dude. You can't argue, and you haven't, the production numbers.
No.
So production-wise, yes, he deserves to be removed from making play calls, especially when I've screamed on the air, you have to do something. Change the quarterback, do something.
Okay, so now tell me the reason that you don't want to fire him.
You know damn well the reason why I don't want to fire him. You all know damn well reason why we can't fire him. Let's just speak it into existence.
The Giants suck.
It's because of him. It's because of him. Aaron Rodgers loves the man. Aaron Rodgers earlier today with Pat McAfee defended him. He blamed everyone else. He even called out Mekhi Becton on that third down play and said, hey, I love Mekhi, great kid. He messed up on this play.
He did.
If you fire Nate Hackett, you are firing Aaron Rodgers. Understand that. This will end horribly. So you ask me, do I want to fire Nate Hackett? I want to fire him, but I want to do something. See, I'm desperate for something to change. And if it's not going to be the quarterback and it's not going to be the play caller, then what the hell is it?
Why do you think that Ken Dorsey got fired?
Because they have underperformed the expectations and their offense looks broken.
That's part of it, but a lot of teams go through that.
Josh Allen has regressed.
That's part of it, but
Is there another
lot
reason?
Of quarterbacks. Yes.
Go ahead.
Sean McDermott is about to get fired.
So he's saving his ass?
He's saving his ass.
Fair enough.
Robert Saleh is not getting fired after the season.
And why is that?
Woody thinks he's the guy.
No.
The same reason that you said about Nate Hackett.
It's the same reason why.
By the way, it doesn't matter the reason why. It doesn't matter why a guy's keeping his job or not keeping his job. The reality is Sean McDermott is about to get fired. He has to Hawthorne affect it, if you know what that is. It's a Hawthorne lighting facility. They did a test. They changed the lighting. They lowered the lighting. Worker productivity went up. They raised the lighting. Worker productivity went up. So it wasn't the fact that they changed the lighting. It's just that they changed something, right?
Isn't that basically what I'm screaming for without knowing what the Hawthorne effect is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Sean McDermott is trying to Hawthorne affect his team.
Right.
The Jets aren't going to do that because of 2 reasons. One is Aaron Rodgers, and 2, they still have a chance at the postseason.
So do the Buffalo Bills.
I know, but the Buffalo Bills were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender.
I get it.
For the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And they have not been. And a lot of it's because of the regression on offense.
Yeah.
And Sean McDermott is not going to make it out of this season if they miss the playoffs.
I get that. I think the thing that's so difficult is we all have to understand what's around us right now. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers runs this organization.
Right. And he talks about you every single week.
He talks about the organization.
Hold on. You Jet fans loved it. Loved it.
I still don't mind it.
Okay. You loved it.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get enough of it. It was the conversation off of his conversation was ad nauseum, like just like gaga. Like stop. And I remember saying at the time, Aaron Rodgers is a master at manipulating you. Not you specifically, but maybe you.
No, he manipulates me, Tiki. Who are you kidding?
But the Jet fan and really media in general, he's master at it. I commend him because it's hard to do that. It's hard to say almost nothing, but have everybody pay attention.
Well, he said something earlier today. Aaron, what do you think of the New York Football Giants? You have an opinion on them by chance?
The Giants suck.
Thank you, Aaron.
So he does this all the time.
Yeah.
Every week. And you thought it was going to be non-consequential. Oh, look how cool it is. We got our quarterback on Pat McAfee saying something that's moving the needle every single Tuesday.
The Giants suck.
Every single Tuesday. You loved it.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing the consequence of it.
Yeah, but it's not the consequences of it.
The
it's
consequence. Change needs to happen.
Yes.
With the Jets.
Yes.
Change, and whether that's Nate, whether that's Zach Wilson, whatever that is, it's not going to happen because Aaron Rodgers has a headset on.
I agree with
because Aaron Rodgers has his coach tell him, we need you.
Yes.
Not like get healthy, we'll see you next year. We need you.
Yes.
Come to the sideline, throw the ball around, be a part of this. We don't have any other leaders other than you. And they do, but that's what he's basically saying. Mm-hmm. We need you, right? So, yeah, change needs to happen. They need to be Hawthorne effect also. But it's not going to happen.
Because of Aaron Rodgers.
Because the head coach can't make that decision.
No, I agree. Look, it's not because he's talking to Pat McAfee every week. It's because Aaron Rodgers exists. And I know this is an offensive thing.
No, it's not true.
Of course it is.
No, if he didn't have if he only had his Instagram account to disseminate whatever story it was, we wouldn't care as much.
No,
we wouldn't.
No, but Tiki, when we're talking about Nate Hackett, like when we're having a conversation about him and the Jet offense and the Broncos from last year, and you ask me the same question, which is, what are you saying? Do you want him fired?
Yeah.
I'd give you the same answer.
I know you would.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers would approve of that. And so that has nothing to do with him talking.
So as a Jet fan,
yeah,
you can't say it because you don't want to offend Aaron Rodgers.
No, I can say it. I just know what the consequences are.
What's the consequence?
He's not going to want to be here anymore. Look, this is Durant all over again. I'm sorry, but it's true. You have a superstar player.
So who's being manipulated? And it's almost like you're willingly being manipulated.
What's my option? No, seriously, what's my option? Tell Aaron Rodgers to go bleep off and trade him at the end of the year or keep him happy? Like, you tell me. What's the smart option?
Do what you think is right for your team. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Robert Saleh.
You know what's right for the team?
What's that?
Aaron Rodgers being healthy and playing. And if Nate Hackett is fired.
Is that guaranteed?
It's not guaranteed, but you know what I think is guaranteed?
What?
If you decide to fire Nate Hackett or decide, maybe the Saleh thing at the end of the year, maybe there's more unknown to that. But if you decide to remove Nate Hackett, Robert Saleh is going to lose Aaron Rodgers. Isn't that painfully obvious to all of us?
Okay. Sounds a lot like Durant and Kyrie.
That's what I just said. I know.
You wanted it.
I get it. I'm not even Tiki. I'm not complaining about it. I'm describing the reality.
All I am saying is that this was warned to you all like months ago. This was warned. And this has nothing to do with anything Aaron Rodgers is doing. It's just that his influence is real.
His influence is damn real.
It's probably the most influential non-executive on a team that I can think of.
In the NFL? No question. No question.
I'm trying to think if Payton even had this. And
he had it after when he was promoting Adam Gase everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point.
When he used Jedi mind tricks on Christopher Johnson. Yes.
But I don't know if Payton had this kind of influence.
And I don't think it's because Aaron is saying anything. Like, think about this, Jet fans.
It's nothing he's doing. That's what I'm saying. I'm not knocking Aaron Rodgers.
They're afraid of him. So for any Jet fan who thought the exact same thing I thought last night, because this is the reality watching Broncos Bills, was, wow, Nate Hackett looks bad. Fair or not. And I understand it's different situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And also, I didn't think didn't think that they looked good either. Anyways,
It's not that they're looking
their defense
good.
is amazing.
Yeah, but they're scoring more points than they scored last year.
Yeah, of course.
They're
Of
scoring.
course.
They're not a top 5 offense, but now they're 15th as compared to 32nd.
But hold on, Ev. They kicked. He threw one scramble Hail Mary, basically 40-yard prayer into the end zone. It was a touchdown. Otherwise, they kicked field goals.
I get it, but they're still scoring 22 points a game, which they weren't doing last year.
Kicking field goals.
But they're winning. Like, they have the same record now as the Jets, and they're going in the other direction. And the point is, whether it's fair or not, it doesn't look good for Nate Hackett. Just like it doesn't look good for the Jets that the coach is telling us the quarterback's better, everything's better, and yet statistically, this Jet team is worse statistically than they were a year ago. And the reality is, to all my fellow Jet fans, is I just laid out the case on Nate Hackett, and it was perfect. Tiki said, what do you want to do? Fire him? And the answer is, we can't. It's not an option. It is not. So you can ask all day, should they take play calling away from him? I'd be for it. But can you do that? What's Aaron Rodgers going to say? And for anyone who says, well, why do you care what Aaron Rodgers says? Because he's the guy we're hoping comes back.
Now, Evan, though, let's be real.
Am I wrong about anything I said?
Kind of.
Go ahead.
It's the only thing you'd be wrong on. Nate Hackett could have just been the next example of a guy who's a very good qualified coordinator, not a head coach. And I know that their reputation or whatever their relationship is damaged. But if that didn't happen last year and Russell Wilson was your answer and Nate Hackett was the offensive coordinator and he was never a head coach with him, do you think the Jets offense is struggling like that? It still comes back to the quarterback. Wilson can't play.
But they're worse than last year. Think about that. And I don't think this is being talked about enough. This offense, points-wise, they're scoring fewer points than last year.
Yeah,
and last year was supposedly the worst, right?
But when did they score?
What do you mean?
When Zach didn't play?
Well, that is true. Yeah.
I'm
when Mike White played, they scored more points.
Yeah. Exactly. And Josh Johnson, right?
But that only proves my point even further.
I don't know. I think this just keeps
Joe Flacco. John Johnson was 2 years ago.
This just keeps coming back to we have now resigned ourselves another bar-lowering moment in New York sports where Zach ain't going anywhere. He's the quarterback. We've screamed for weeks about Boyle, and now we're looking to point fingers elsewhere when the resounding problem is Zach Wilson is not good.
No, but we know that.
Mm-hmm. I know that.
So what is
you think Andy Reid's the offensive coordinator?
So what do you think Nate can do? Like, what can Nate do
specifically?
Yeah. Like you take the play calling away from him, you give it to Todd Downing, and what's going to happen?
No, he's
going to call the same plays, and Zach's going to be on the wrong side of a smash route and throw another intercept. Like, what's going to change?
See, here's the problem. You bring up a really good point because I thought about this last night. I said to myself, okay, what is Nate Hackett specifically doing wrong? Because I even brought this up to you yesterday. I was like, when we question play calls, it isn't always about the same thing. It's not always they're not running enough, they're not throwing enough, they're not being aggressive enough, they're not doing this enough. Like, it's everything. Sometimes on third down, they throw, and I'm bitching that they didn't run. And sometimes they're running on third down, and I'm complaining they don't throw.
Yeah.
I think lately the criticism has been you need to be more aggressive.
You need to throw the ball into the end zone.
Yes, you need to throw the ball in the end zone. And I'm not suggesting that Todd Downing's going to make the difference, just like I don't know if Trevor Siemian would make the difference. But what's driving us all nuts is that this head coach continues to stand there, whether it's about Zach Wilson or today we're talking about Nate Hackett, and say we're not doing anything. And that's what's frustrating. They're not doing anything, yet they're 30th in points. Yet they've scored 8 offensive touchdowns this season. 8. 5 from the quarterback. Joshua Dobbs has been responsible for more touchdowns over the last 2 weeks in Minnesota than Zach Wilson has this entire season.
Zach is actually playing pretty good.
Thank you. And here's my other issue. This is my other issue. And you can explain this one to us. Robert Saleh said this yesterday about the system, Nate Hackett, and Zach Wilson. Take a listen.
Zach is actually playing pretty good. He's not. He's much better than he was a year ago. He is year one in a new system, a system that was, again, like I said, built for Aaron. Let's be real.
Okay.
And now we're trying to make a shift to get it to where everyone's comfortable with where we are.
All right, that's enough. Tiki, please explain this to me while I'm getting angry for no reason.
Yeah.
This was built for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, the offense
and we're
was
making
built for Aaron.
An adjustment.
Dude,
it's been 10 weeks.
Okay, so here's what that means is that you call a play, whatever the play is. and it doesn't matter what it is. Inside zone to Breece Hall. The system it moves. They have things called cans. You hear this all the time. If you listen to the audio broadcast you're just listening to a game, you'll hear a quarterback go, can it. He's changing the play. Right? Meaning they had 2 plays called. The first one, you go, if you don't hear anything, if it says can, it's the second one. Right? So you check out of a bad play into a good play. Or you just easy. I don't know what the code word is for the Jets, but they easy, and you get into something completely different. Right? They trust Aaron Rodgers to do that. So you can call a bad play, but this quarterback's going to make us right. He's going to get the formation correct.
Right.
He's going to slide the protections the right way, so he's never going to get pressured from a side that he's not expecting. And this is the cat and mouse game. So we talk about the cat and mouse game often between offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. Like that's what we do with the Jets right now. We had this conversation before the Jet-Giant game, Wink versus Nate, like how they're going to do this. And you saw Wink jumping around the defensive line doing all these different things. The real cat and mouse game is defensive coordinator versus quarterback, right? But when you do that with Zach Wilson, the defensive coordinator always has the advantage.
So why you do that with Zach Wilson?
Meaning I'm talking about the competitive, like the competition. A defensive coordinator calling something that's going to confuse the quarterback, and the quarterback sitting up there figuring it out. Like, oh, okay, you're trying to zone dog me.
But why are you allowing him to change plays at the line? Maybe you shouldn't allow him because he's not Aaron Rodgers.
Because sometimes the play is so bad, and that your tendency tells you that you're going to run this play. The defensive coordinator knows, so he runs it. He creates or calls a defense that's going to specifically stop that play. The game is the quarterback fixes it. Like he sees it. Oh, we can't run outside zone because they're bringing 2 doggers from that side.
But is that what he means by this offense was built for Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, that's what he means.
Well, but Aaron Rodgers isn't here anymore, so shouldn't the offense be built in a different way now? It's been 10 weeks. Shouldn't there be an alteration because Zach is not Aaron Rodgers?
Yes. And
why hasn't that happened?
2 reasons. One, the offensive line is in constant flux, so you can't call plays. Like you simply can't call plays when your tackle is playing guard, or your guard is playing tackle, or your center is playing guard. You can't do it because they don't know what to do, right? You tell them, we're going to change this protection. We're going to slide this thing left. Lucky, right? And he's like, all right, what do I do? Do I stay on the guy in front of me, or am I sliding down to the guy over the center? And then we're like, it feels like it's easy because we see people do it, and it's like, oh, that's so easy. He changed that protection. It's simple, but it's really complicated because if you change one thing, hell, if you misidentify the Mike linebacker, you screw up the back, right? Mike's 53. In fact, it's actually 55. The back goes and blocks the guy outside of 53. 53 comes unblocked. So, like, there's little things like that are complicated. It seems easy, but that's what Zach is struggling with. And I know Zach is struggling with because he told us this is what he's struggling with.
I get it, but it's tough to hear that, hey, this offense was built for Aaron Rodgers. It's been 10 weeks.
Yeah.
He's clearly not coming back, or at least he wasn't coming back. We don't know if he's coming back. More on that later. And to hear that excuse after 10 weeks is tough to hear. Like, it's not Aaron Rodgers' offense anymore. It should have changed already.
It's just the reality.
But
it's just the reality.
But if Aaron Rodgers was never here, what would the offense be?
It wouldn't be this. It'd be very different.
So you need a whole offseason to change your offense?
Yeah. You'd see a lot more probably outside zone, or mid or outside zone run game, which allows you to do play action. You'd see a lot of bootlegs. You'd probably see some zone read. You'd see different things in what Aaron Rodgers isn't doing outside zone, right? He's not going to just run and chase and hand the ball off to a running back to do play action. He doesn't need that, right? His play action happens with his hands. Like you saw this on Hard Knocks. You remember, it's like, dog, did you see that play fake? Remember that on Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
We're talking about play fakes?
Yes.
That's how Aaron Rodgers mimics what most teams use outside zone for, which is reach and reach and reach. Oh, I'm actually pulling that back, right? We're throwing the ball. You think I'm reaching. Aaron does it just like little things. And he can do those, and he can turn around, and he can have someone coming down, the barrel of his neck, and he can flip it out and get it out. Zach can't do that stuff. And so this offense it doesn't suit Zach. And we know this because he doesn't execute it well. But what Robert Saleh is saying is that he's actually starting to get a little bit better at some of these things, right? You see it. You see it because he throws for 260 yards, even though 92 of it came on the last 2 drives. But you see it. right? As opposed to, man, he's going to throw for 112 yards today. Yeah, they ain't even getting to the red zone. Right? It's incrementally better. It's not good enough to be winning football, but it is incrementally better.
Centimeter by centimeter. We'll come back.
If there was one thing that I would change,
yes.
If I was Nate Hackett or advising them, well, there's two things. You need to have PAMs, penalty assessment meetings.
Yes, we need the PAMs.
You need some PAMs. Make 20 minutes a week. Penalty assessment meetings.
Everybody
has to go.
Or Pan?
Sounds like Pam, but it also sounded like Pam.
No, Pam.
Pam or Pan?
Pam.
Gotcha.
Like the girl's name.
Meetings.
Pam. Penalty assessment meetings.
Like the girl
Everybody
from The
has to
Office,
go.
Pam.
30 minutes a week. Everybody goes, and everybody gets embarrassed or doesn't because they didn't do anything wrong. But most people are doing stuff wrong. So
I love that the
penalty
Bills lost
assessment.
last night because of a penalty.
Yeah.
That made me feel better.
Yeah. Pam, thanks. Thank you, Matthew Smiley, for having 12 men on the field. That's the special teams coordinator.
Okay.
But that is one, and I forget what I was saying. But number two, they need to make things easy for Zach in the red zone. Throw the ball in the end zone.
Yes.
Get two players going to corner routes. One, getting to the pylon. That's the front of the end zone. Corners, pylons. Make easy throws for Zach, but throw them into the end zone.